Okay, here we go. My sweater looks a little. Oh, is that the signal, Joan? Are we live?
We are
Live.
live, Alan.
It's a program Joan and I have been doing called Out of This World, where usually we talk to beings, interdimensional beings, beings that claim to be from other planets. But this time we're really going dimensionally. And Joan of Angels, if you don't know her, she is an oracle of ancient wisdom. She taps into the angelic realm and she's an incredible artist. And we've been partnering in a bunch of different events, including this Out of This World show. And you going to introduce me a little bit?
Yes, and so I want everyone to meet my co-host, Alan, who actually now he's in New Realities TV. So I suppose when you are out of this world, one of the first things you experience is a new reality. And Alan actually specializes on teaching people and speaking to and interviewing people who exhibit new realities, not just in this dimensional plane, but out in the galactic field. So you may have all heard of Alan Steinfeld. He's my co-host. He's my co-host because we both come from the same neck of the woods. It turned out we had the same funny sense of humor. So we're really
Right.
happy to be doing
But
the show tonight. But what? And
I
we
was
have a
just
lot
going
of
to say, go ahead, you finish.
Okay, so guys, we are traveling around with Neil Portal to Ascension, and we are really offering to you guys an array of wonderful, exciting events, including, but not limited to, San Diego conference, right?
San Diego conference, April 21st to the 23rd. Linda Moulton Howe, Adam Apollo, lots of big names in the consciousness, interdimensional field, ET connections. So that's one thing. We're going to Glastonbury for a portal to ascension. And at the end of the year, we're doing a great Egyptian tour. So
Right.
that's just a little commercial, but let's bring the guest in and then we can talk about more after. Because I want to
Perfect.
say
Well, what do you
that
want to
this
tell everyone about our guest? We have an
well,
attractive and amazing
this is
guest.
not just out of this world. A seal really brings in a whole other dimensional quality of awareness, and he brings in these masters that are activating people, opening up to their own divinity. And I think that's what's so valuable about Asil's work, because I've been hosting it on New Realities for the last year, and I've gotten lots of views, lots of great feedback. We saw him at the expo, but you never know what's going to come through him. That's why I really enjoy about Asil's work. So should we bring him on, Joan?
Well, let's bring him on. I was really privileged. He sent me an invitation to come and meet him. And
Oh,
so I was really, I had to. It was, first of all, it's the only invitation of its kind that I've received at the expo. And it came from Aseel, who everyone seemed to know. And so, Aseel, we are really happy to have you on the show today.
It is truly my honor. You guys are kind of like such known personalities in this world that we are in, and especially with Conscious Life Expo and the
yeah.
work that you're doing in the world, you have been in some ways pioneers for us youngsters. I'll consider myself still considerably young in that way. You're still young. I'm not saying you're old, but you have been pioneers. You've been doing this for much longer than I have.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like we're standing on your shoulders. So it
Mm.
is a true honor to like see the work that you have done opened minds of many, many people. And here we come being able to step into that and serve together.
You
That's
know,
really nice of you to say that. I mean, I think, yeah, Joan and I have been at the party for a couple of years now because it is like a big family gathering where we get to exchange information and uplift each other's consciousness. So, right, Joan, wouldn't you say that coming
well, I
together at
would.
the expo?
We are the
Yeah.
volunteers that Dolores Cannon talks about, first of all.
Yes.
The ones that first brought in this new information of ascension and consciousness and awakening. And I guess you're saying you're the generation after us.
In some
I'm
ways,
just trying to figure it out.
and I think there is even a generation after me, right?
There
So
is
Yeah.
there is
third
consistent new
way.
generations,
Mhm.
and they have slightly different approaches. And the
Yeah.
better the pathways are established for the general public, the easier it is for the next generation to tap into it and serve in their best possible way. So
Right. So
you guys
one,
had it the hardest in some ways.
well, there was
Right,
a
we were.
generation before us, though. There were the
True.
60s
That's
revolution.
true.
There were the Edgar Casey in the 20s and
Yep.
30s, Madame Blavatsky in the 1890s. There's been waves.
I
And
can't even
so,
imagine what they had to do to talk to people about this work. You
well,
know?
A
it
lot of people were interested in spiritualism, in spiritualism and in the mediumship and seances, and they were actually very fascinated, I think, by a lot of that, much more open about it than they are nowadays. Well, now it's coming around again,
Yeah.
but I think there was an interesting time back then.
right. And when I want you to tell your story for people who don't know you a little bit. So when did you jump in the pool and join the
game.
ascension crowd, Aseel?
What
I
a
think
great
it was
way.
around 3,000 years ago.
Okay.
Yes,
That
now
couple of
he's a man after
lifetimes.
my own heart. Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
let's
couple of
start at
lifetimes.
I have these memories of a past life where I lived alongside and worked with Zoroaster as part of
Mm,
that lineage, and accessing these angelic realms and connecting, and my soul recognizing the reason of my presence on earth and saying, okay, now I'm ready to make that agreement to serve humanity, and them saying, well, it's going to take another 3,000 years for this to be ready. So you'll keep reincarnating into as many spiritual lineages as possible to gather as much knowledge and preparation as possible to serve at the time when the time is right.
right, right, right.
I love that you
So
have those memories. How
you have those memories as an ancient initiate, would you say, part of the mystery school traditions? Is that what
Yes.
you okay.
Yes, I
I
do. And I have memories living a life as a rabbi in Jerusalem. I have memories living Native American lives, many of them. I have memories of Atlantis. I have, there is like so many of them. It's impossible to actually even, put it together or identify with it because there's just so many.
right.
when did you start to have were these all part of your awakening, or has that been recent? Like, did you know this as a child growing up?
I've had very interesting experiences as a child. I would see non-material beings and would freak pretty much everyone in my family out. And they would
Mhm.
convince me there is nothing and so on and so forth. And because people are generally afraid of non-material existence, anything that
Yeah.
they don't have access to, and there's too many stories of fear, right, ingrained in humanity. And I remember having these experiences, like as a 4-year-old, riding my bicycle on my grandmother's farm and stopping and looking at my hands and thinking, oh, I'm in this machine. I'm operating this machine. It's not me. And I'm looking out of these eyes, but that's also not me. It's only a temporary machine I'm operating. So
Mhm.
of course, I told this as a 4-year-old to my cousins, and they thought I'm just like this out of this world, space cadet.
Right.
So these kind of
But
memories are plenty. And only in my 20s, I started to venture into more deeper spirituality, and I started to have remembrance of these past lives and a deeper inquiry personally.
But it's very deep that you go, Joan. When you see a SEAL channel, he is deep, deep in that. I mean, something takes over a whole other force. And when did you drop into that level of connection?
That was about 7 years ago. That
Oh.
was about 7 years ago when I used to hold retreats. I used to guide people into deeper states of presence and meditations. And I started to get myself into planes of existence that I had never experienced before. And I'm talking about light beings. I'm talking about worlds that were pure and in order and super high frequency. And
Mm.
I thought, wow, like, is this my imagination? But if it's my imagination, how is it that I'm coming back to the same places and I'm witnessing these light beings? And at some point, they started to converse with me, and I would have conversations just like you and I are having. And they said on this first meeting, and there's like all these light beings feeling like almost very bluish light. I called them at the time, because I didn't have any context, I called them blue Buddhas, but because they felt like Buddhas to me. And then I had this conversation. The first one said, my name is Emmanuel, and everything that you have done in your life and in the lives that you have lived has brought you to this place of readiness. And now we can work with you. But it's going to require to let go of all the traditions and all the knowledge that you've accumulated, so we can build on a new slate on top of your vessel, an instrument for their work. And I said, well, what's your work? Like, what is your plan? And they said, humanity is going through a great awakening process, and we are returning to intervene in a much deeper way than we have been. I said, okay, that sounds like a big plan. Are you sure you've got the right guy?
Now, why did you say that?
You know, why did I say that? Because first of all, it sounded like, this is a huge plan. It sounds like a lot of responsibility. And I'm not sure if I'm equipped to hold that responsibility or that power, right? And so I said, all right, I'll do what you guys are telling me to do in terms of preparation. Because they said, in order for us to fully work through you, your vessel has to be prepared. Energetically, mentally, emotionally, physically, you have to be prepared. Otherwise, the energies that we're bringing through you will destabilize you. Like, you won't be able to hold it in a good way. I said, okay.
And what did they do to prepare you physically for this? Like, what was that preparation about?
It was quite rigorous. And to some degree, I would say they were like my personal trainers towards spiritual athleticism, if there is a word for that. It included pretty much regular waking up before the sunrise, running around the mountain to greet the sun as it was rising, changing my diet completely, consistent meditations, up to 5, 6, half an hour to hour meditations during the day, pretty much a short break, rest, and then go back into the process of meditation. It included lots of breathing techniques, very similar to the ancient yogic breathing techniques. And then eventually I was able to accumulate more and more life force in my being, which allowed my consciousness to go up further, to connect with them much easier, and for them to enter my physical vessel and embody. And they carry a certain voltage, let's say it that way, right? In my experience, they carry a certain frequency, and that frequency has a certain power. I call it voltage, for lack of better words. And that voltage feels a bit like they can modulate it, so they can enter me at a different level of voltage depending on what's needed. The stronger my vessel is, the more attuned I am, the better they can plug into it. If my vessel is not on that level that they're entering with, I'll be fried. Right?
So you had to prepare your vibration, but now has it increased the field? Are you holding more energy now?
Absolutely. So in the beginning, the preparation was, okay, you're going to hold sessions for 10 people, 15 people. We're going to prepare you to hold a session for 100 people. We're going to prepare you for 500 people. This process, this upgrade process for 3 months is going to prepare you to hold a session for 1,000 people. This session is going to prepare you for 5,000 people, and so on. So there was consistent upgrade processes where I would have to unplug myself from society and the normal human life to prepare for this next milestone that they had in store for me.
How exciting.
Yeah,
Fascinating, right?
Right?
it
How
is.
I'm an engineer by training, an engineer scientist. So I'm looking at this.
Right.
I'm like, this is incredibly fascinating. Like, even if it's a figment of my imagination, which I don't think it is super interesting.
But it's a training program for high initiation and
Yeah.
transformation, which clearly you said yes to.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I heard you talk about being in that alignment in order to even receive or tap into and receive that kind of information.
So 7 years now you've been building this energy, like it's growing inside you in a sense, it's expanding your field. And what kind of information are you bringing through? I mean, I've heard some of it, but how would you
Mm-hmm.
describe it?
I would say the information varies based on who's the group that's receiving it, right?
Mhm.
So overall, the information is humanity is going through a major awakening process, and they call it the ascension process of humanity. They say this evolutionary process is kind of the maturation of a collective consciousness at its final stage of maturation from a physical perspective.
Then what happens though? A final stage of what? And then what?
Alan always has got the good questions.
I'm just curious. Final stage, it sounds a little
Yeah.
extreme. Yeah.
So the way they explain it to me is that consciousness is seated at different places across the universe. The universe is a creation. The Elohim were architects of this creation, of the space-time construct, of this universal duality, to seed consciousness at different places and watch how it unfolds and how it grows. And the physical experience in a form, in this case, the human form, was a necessary piece for consciousness to come to its first growth stage. Basically discovering itself, discovering reality, discovering what they consider like the self-realization of a collective consciousness. So as a consciousness, we're evolving. And the physical experience will at some point be complete. So it's not forever that humanity will exist in physical form. It is a stage of existence. And I'm not sure if this like correlates with some of the things that you hear or that you have heard or you have known. I think
The
Alan is
ascension wave. It's the ascension wave I think you're talking about. I mean, some
yes.
people have called it that.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think there are many forms of existence for consciousness. Some of it is physical and some of it is non-physical, non-material. And I do believe, from what they have said, that many forms started off physical first and evolved into non-material beings, like the many galactic friends that we have. Some of them don't carry physical form anymore, right? Or some of them are still in this in between. They can switch back and forth between physical and non-physical form, which is also fascinating. We are in the early stages of learning what's beyond the physical form for us.
Yes. No, it's exciting. So Joan, should we be activated? Are you
I'd love to have, who would turn down being activated, Ellen? The question is are we ready to be activated? And and of course I'm ready to be activated. Aseel, when you invited me to come to meet with you and your team, I didn't actually know who you were. But I said, oh, I'm just going to go and see, because they were kind enough to invite me. And when I came down, and then and then I was really blown away by some of the videos on your channel and the way that they've been aligned. There's something that it's very reassuring, as if you're actually creating a foundation for people to move through this information, which also sounds exactly how they laid it out with you, that there's an organized sense. Like, can we talk about how we move through these different kinds of levels of spiritual growth then?
Yeah. So I think one of the main pieces that is currently happening is that the energy levels are rising on this earthly plane and on the plane that we are existing. And as the energy rises, there is a significantly more life force available to us. But we have to prepare ourselves to find the greater alignment that we can in order to utilize that energy. Otherwise, it's just going to create more chaos inside and outside. And if we can receive that energy, we can direct it with alignment. And so they're basically saying the evolution of the individual is the key to the evolution of the collective. It's not just going to be done by an external force for us. It's truly our work. But they will support us, they will guide us, and they will provide assistance for those that choose this path.
Well, you bring through more than one being. You bring through Raphael, Emmanuel. I mean, what's the difference? They're all from the same place in a way, right? I mean, but can you make a distinction between one being and the next?
Yeah, so there definitely is, interestingly enough, there is a bit of a hierarchy up there. So there is a really, in terms of roles, in terms of power and authorization. Now, that's not the same way we perceive hierarchy in like human society. It's very different. And the way I perceive, for example, Emmanuel, he is a bit to me an ambassador. He is a spokesperson between these realms. And so he'll answer questions. He has lived human lives. He has chosen to incarnate, to experience the human form, to have a better understanding and identity with identification with the human challenges that we're facing. And then there is the archangelic forms like Raphael, Michael. And when they come through, it's very specific to a purpose. So Raphael come through to do very particular types of healings, especially very challenging misalignments he'll deal with. Michael will come through if there is very strong forces of duality at play. So, for example, when I go to do clearings at sacred sites or sites of global trauma, Michael will do a lot of that work. And more recently, in the last probably like year and a half or so, it's been mostly the Elohim, because I've been able to build my vessel enough to hold the energy of the Elohim and what they're saying and the work that they're doing. And the way that I experience them is like they are this incredible collective with a unified voice. And there is an intrinsic reverence and frequency about them. And that's been, like this pure non-dual voice of such a high existence. It sometimes is mind-blowing for me as I'm like reading these transcripts myself, the things that I'm like, did I really say, did this really come out of me? There's like this wonder that I have sometimes like a child.
Well, I think that's a great introduction. I wonder who we'll get today.
Well, are we going to go into some sort of
it's up to you. Well, I think there's a few more questions Joan wants to ask just before we get
of course.
Settled. First of all, I love this comment from my point of blue. I'm new to listening. Activate me. So people who are new to you actually are getting the feeling. Guys, we want to welcome you to the show. I see a lot of friends here: Regina, Stone Hobbit, Francine, Joanne. If I don't mention your name, it's my eyesight. Before we get to the channeling, Aseel, I do have a few questions. So when it happened a few years ago, then they said you're going to completely shift into this new way of being. did you have any resistance? Was it challenging? Or and also it seems to me as I'm tuning into you that these are not beings that are new to you, right? These are beings, I feel like you've walked with them on the planet many lifetimes. And that, I mean, I have that sense. It's like, oh, I must have been to a lot of your transmissions because I can feel them. So let's talk a little bit about that this is a tribe that's been here forever, in a sense, working with you and others, us like you.
Absolutely. They have been, since the inception and the seeding of humanity, they have been involved in supporting humanity in various ways, in many different lineages, many different spiritual directions, and they had different names, like humans gave them different names according to their tradition and described them in the ways they understood this connection to be. But it is true that many times that we come back and we utilize the allies we have, the connections we have, the frequencies we already hold, they're the first ones to open up. And in that sense, in my first experience with them, I was skeptical because I'm generally a skeptical person, right? And I thought, well, this is maybe, it's like a one-time thing. Maybe it won't like happen again. Who knows? But the consistency built trust. So they kept on coming back. They kept all their promises. And the delivery was almost impeccable. Like I could not find any loopholes, even though my skeptical mind would go into like debates with them. I'm like, but what about this? And what about this? So I had these arguments with these angelic beings as I'm going through this process. And a part of me really experienced challenges as well, Joan. It was sometimes feeling like, am I losing my mind? Like, who am I going to become as I'm venturing on this path? People that love me, will they still recognize me as the one that they've learned to love? Right? And yeah, it was, there was a bit of a fear of acceptance. Like, how is this going to be taken by, my family or my friends or the business world that I was, immersed in? Like, they're gonna judge me the way I've been judging spiritual people,
Well, how
Well,
did your family take it? I mean, what was their reaction? Because it's quite extreme,
Yeah. It was surprisingly easy, even though my parents don't have a strong spiritual background and definitely not a religious background. So in that sense, it was interesting for them to experience the impact this work is having on so many people's lives. So it was becoming an undeniable thing for them to say, wow, if there is so many people receiving the benefits of this, then there must be something to it. Maybe he is not totally crazy. So they truly embraced the path that I had chosen. They've seen how happy and aligned and fulfilled I was on this journey, comparatively to being successful in the business world and not being happy, right? And I think ultimately a parent wants to see their kids happy,
I
alive.
think they knew you were special and that you had this gift, and they saw it all along in your eyes. I really do. I can feel that they knew that there was something unique and different about you,
Yeah.
and they were willing to embrace it. And I want to talk about that for a second, because when I took the name Joan of Angels, I was named Joan of Angels. I would never have had the audacity to stand up and go, I'm Joan of Angels. And it took me 7 years to step into to be trained to carry that even title or that authority, that energy. And I remember the first thing my daughter said to me is, Mom, do you have to tell anyone your name? Can't you tell them you're Dr. Hangarter? What is wrong with, and my immediate family not taking it so well, being out with a mom who publicly said, well, I'm Joan of Angels. So it's not such an easy thing. in a certain way to take
Mhm.
on. You have to really feel it. And I get the training that it takes. Yes,
Thank you, Joan.
I do feel.
Yes, I was thinking about that, Joan, when I asked him the question about his family. I was thinking about what your daughter said to you. And
She does the classic family move. She goes like this, which means do not say a thing. Be quiet. No one is to talk. I'm going on, I'm Joan of Angels. Anyway, but to be able to embrace who you are on all levels is really actually very, very important. Even as we wake up and people have this awakening experience, it shocks their family.
Yeah.
So if you're here listening and you're having an awakening and you're beginning to see the presence of your angels and guides and tap into it, but you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, it's probably because you don't have anyone on the 3D realm who can really understand what you are going through. This is a fifth dimensional and higher event.
well,
It is a miracle.
like Aseel said, we're sort of leading the way, and it does kind of take standing up and being a lone voice in the wind, and maybe people hear you, maybe people don't, but there's a momentum happening within this subculture, and the expo that we all were at was the best ever. So there's something happening that's satisfying for all of what we're trying to accomplish here. Would you say, Aseel, are you getting that feeling that there's a momentum here?
Oh, most certainly. There's definitely a strong momentum, and I feel like this awakening wave is just going to get stronger and stronger. I see millions of people popping like popcorn all around the
Yeah.
world, and it's just going to be really interesting to see how are we as a society and as a collective fare with this mass awakening that's happening.
Popping like popcorn.
That's right.
I just love it. Popping like popcorn as we watch the movie of our lives unfold.
Unfolding,
And where
yes, we are
step
popping like
into.
popcorn.
So do you have any guides that you like? Do you ever request to see certain guides, or do they actually direct the whole show?
So the way I experience my vessel is I'm an established interface to what I consider the channel. And in that channel, or to that channel, only specific beings have access to. It's like very highly guarded and, held in a very safe way. For my safety as well as for everyone else that's receiving, right? So the decisions, what beings or which being can speak or work through me, is made above. They choose. I just have to make sure I'm present and ready and set the intention. I can make requests. I can say, I'd like to have a conversation with so and so. And I can say, like, oh, I feel like we're going to need Michael here. And, and they'll make sure that he's available for embodiment and for working through me.
Now, do you do mainly private sessions, or now are all your sessions 50, 100, 500, 1,000, like big channeled transmissions?
Pretty much all my work is big groups. And the reason is because of the vision that I'm consistently being given of this mass awakening of humanity. The more people we can activate together, the better it is. And it's been a really interesting journey because obviously I have a lot of requests for private sessions. I just don't have enough time in the day to do everything we're doing as a nonprofit organization, to hold all of these retreats and sessions and courses and workshops. And the impact, everyone has a different approach. And I think all approaches together make this collective work that we are doing. And my particular role plays the role of the, bigger groups and lifting as a group, as a collective, as a community into these high frequency states.
Do you see yourself as a guru, or like are people putting you on a pedestal?
I mean, people will do whatever they're going to do, right? So I just have to consistently break the pedestal and like destroy it every time I feel it. I definitely don't want to be anyone's guru nor anyone's master, because I feel like the old paradigm of guru student, guru disciple is a paradigm that has worked to some degree in till for us to become who we are today. And I do believe that we're entering a new stage. We're entering a new phase of existence. And anything that is in an energy of codependency, anything that's in an energy of, oh, I'll do it for you and you'll stick with me as a result of that, it's old energy. And it's actually disempowering. It's the opposite of what the guides are trying to do, to empower every single individual to become their own masters, their own gurus.
Right. And that's what's so great about channeling. When I saw my first channel, that he said, I'm not a guru. You follow me when I leave this place. But this person, meaning the channel, doesn't want people to follow. But if you want to follow me into the unseen realms, into the ascended realms. That was
Well
what
said.
Remco said years ago.
I would love to hear what your guides want to bring to us, Aseel.
Yes,
if they have an activation or a message for us, because there's so much happening on the planet. People are disturbed. It's one thing to talk about spiritual awakening and ascension while there's train wrecks over here and something happened over here and there's fear here and fear here. Like, how do we maintain that? Do they have messages for us for these days ahead of us?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready, Joan? It's very intense, this process. I don't know how intense, but it's really dramatic in an energetic way. You can feel the shift of frequency in his body. So
I can feel it as we've been talking. This whole interview has just been words, getting used to the energy that I can tell is coming through. And I just needed more time to get within this group. So, here it is. Will we be channeling today?
Right now, Francine, right now.
All right, grab your friends, guys, because this is.
Do you want to talk about your process a little bit, like how you do what you do? Because I always find that fascinating.
So basically, the moment I close my eyes and I set my intention that I'm ready as a vessel, then my body starts, specifically in the lower parts of my belly, it starts contractions, and that turns into a faster breathing. And the energy starts to accumulate in my belly, and it starts to circulate in my entire system, and to a point where there's enough energy for my consciousness to expand and for them to connect and then enter my body. And when they do, you might actually see that with, my body is, for a moment, I'm just like, like a sack of potatoes, just like limp. And then suddenly it's like this connection, and it's like I enter into mudras, and there's like a very gentle and soft energy that speaks and moves slowly. So that's basically the conversion point to embodiment.
Beautiful. And it's beautiful. So, okay, I think where seatbelts are fastened, and thank you, Aseel.
Greetings. My name is Emmanuel. Your choice to live this human form is a choice you have made as a soul, the soul container that derives from many different seedings of consciousness, is the one that chooses the many different forms that are available. You have chosen the human form this time and many times before, and the human form itself is a unique journey among the many different physical forms that exist in this reality. The human form requires for the soul to forget. It requires for the soul to start anew, for learnings to emerge, for circumstances to provide opportunities for learning again and again. The continuation through many lifetimes of these learnings, some of your lineages called karma. Yet it is truly a continuation towards the self-realization of an individual, the continued self-realization of a soul container supporting the evolution of consciousness in human form. You represent in the human form human consciousness as a collective. Despite the origins of your soul container, this human form is your origin today. The experience of being human will be foreign to some of you. The experience of this earth will be foreign to some of you. Yet if you truly surrender to the form itself and to the way this earth provides for you, you will find a home in this current lifetime, in this current existence. And some of you will notice the human form to be restricted and limited. Some of you will remember the many lifetimes you have lived in human form and other forms. Some of you will bring connections, support, and doorways open to other previous and concurrent lifetimes you live and you have lived. Yet in this very moment, your present awareness is focused in this incarnation. The human that you are, the personality and identity that you have assumed, the growth processes that you're experiencing, and the consistent support of this reality for your awakening, for your evolution, for your self-realization. You may feel challenged at times by life itself as well as the human form itself. The complexity and the intensity of the human emotional system, the complexities of perspective, projection, identification, and ego, the complexities of operating a human vessel, the complexities of relationship, all aspects, as well as the human condition itself to learn through mistakes and through challenge will bring forth circumstances and situations, conflict duality, polarization has always been part of the human experience. And this challenge in itself is the journey to self-realization, to understanding the gift of the human form, to understanding the connection of all of existence, to understanding that you and the others are all part of the same consciousness. You will learn, and at times you will learn through challenge, discovering the opportunity of realization within each challenge. At times you will learn through mistakes, discovering that every mistake brings forth a realization and the potential for growth. In this journey of evolution, humanity will find itself in a great process of awakening, transformation. The state that you are currently in will require all of you to look more closely at yourself, at your relationships, at your mind, your heart, and the way you have established this physical form of yours. It will require you to look at the constructs of society that you have established. You will develop new constructs, new leadership, new forms of societies and communities. You will operate and choose your creations based on a greater alignment within. Values that emerge from within you, from within your alignment. Values of collective evolution. Values of love. Values of respect and honor, of reverence for life itself, this earth itself, and this human form itself. And as you have found the greatest love for yourself, you will have found the greatest love for all others. Thank you for listening to my words. I will now answer some of your questions.
The question I have is, we're reaching a critical phase, it seems like, to go to the next level. Is there a timeline? Is there a energetic moment that we should prepare for? Is it ongoing?
The timeline is consistently adjusting based on the decisions that you make. Free will of human existence will always be the highest value of this form. Yet understand that the rising energies of this plane will bring forth challenges that will force humanity to rethink, to reestablish, to awaken, and to align within themselves and as a society, as a collective. The challenges of physical nature, the earth itself receiving the energies that are rising and responding with movement, with eruption, change as you observe in all elements of this reality. These changes will continue to intensify within the next 5 to 10 years. You will see movement of societies as certain areas of this earth will no longer be conducive for carrying significant amounts of humans at once. The areas that are less populated will receive an increase of population, of communities. Humanity will learn and understand that their direct connection to the earth is a prerequisite to understanding to live sustainably on this earth. That the constructs established by society are frail and cannot adjust as quickly as necessary. Yet, the most significant preparation for your path forward as a human in this changing environment, in this rising energy of the earth itself, will be finding your power in your presence, your alignment as a human being, your ability to navigate the coming moments from the power you hold in the present moment, the ability to observe challenge as an opportunity for growth, the ability to receive the rising energies as well as the energy of this earth and the energy of all of existence to your benefit, to greater well-being, to greater alignment, and the ability to expand as a consciousness. This journey itself will be your greatest ally in finding your collective nature as humanity. Thank you for your question.
Joan, do you have a question? Are you
Well, it's
still with us?
interesting. Some people have talked about a coming solar flare where there'll be a shift of energy that sweeps across the planet, and we will feel more aligned with the other worlds and the realms, and we'd be kind of cosmically advanced. Is there anything like that that is really actually going to happen? Is that the way this ascension process could happen?
As the energies rise on this plane, your sun will be included in receiving these energies that are moving, will express itself with greater eruptions and expressions of this energy. The earth will receive and experience greater and more frequent eruptions of the sun and its energy. The impact depends on the preparation you have done within yourself. Your energetic body, as it consistently evolves, is capable of receiving the energies of this earth and of the sun, including the eruptions of the sun itself. The preparation of the energy body will require practice, will require alignment, will require purification. And you will learn how to move significant amounts of energy through this singular human vessel that you are. And you will learn to benefit from the energies of the sun as well, providing you nourishment and fuel to live with greater life force, the light of the sun, fueling you and your life. This is the possibility of the challenge that humanity will face. Thank you for your question.
So we'll be taking more light in, which will increase our frequency. Will that put us in greater touch with the star family, the star beings that are waiting to arrive?
Greater fuel will allow for greater consciousness expansion. Through the expansion of your consciousness, you will identify and witness other forms of consciousness, the ones that you consider your family of this universe, those that exist in physical form, those that exist in non-material form will equally be accessible to you as your consciousness evolves and expands. Yet at this current state of humanity, few have access, and the protection that the human consciousness has received upon its inception is still up and will only allow specific connections to come through. The opening of the gates to higher realms is near. Prepare yourself by consistently evolving and expanding your consciousness, finding your self, finding your alignment, as this alignment and this expanded state of consciousness will be required as you make the many connections possible. Thank you for your question.
Okay, Joan, anything else? Because
I think that's good for now.
yes,
I appreciate everything you've had to say to us. I feel like the audience has received it.
Any final words before you go?
Thank you for receiving this wisdom and perspective of ours in assistance of your evolution. May you choose wisely the energy, the time, and the resources you have for the evolution of your consciousness and for the evolution of all of humanity.
Interesting, Joan, isn't it?
Wow. There's something about the way you channel and transmit, Aseel, that carries such a pure, high frequent essence that now I understand why Alan got very excited when I said, "Oh, guess who's coming on the show?" I really, I can only explain it that it's a channeling that hit me on all levels: physical, mental, spiritual. Very
Thank
Yeah.
attuned.
you.
It's not about the words. I mean, the words are important, but I think it's beyond the words, would you say? Guys, actually, I felt it really strong when I was there in person with you. So it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's a field effect.
Very amazing. Thank you. Anything, Aseel, this has been very, very lovely. Let's let everyone know where they can find you, a little bit again about your foundational program that's coming up, or anything you want to share with our audience.
So we've worked diligently with Emmanuel and the guides to establish practices and courses that people can do. And we offer all of these courses donation-based, pay what you can. And it's really extraordinary that we are able to do this because of the support we receive also from humans, right? So these courses there is a 4-week-long course coming up in April called Foundations Course. And building up to the Foundations Course is what we have a free series called Fundamentals for Awakening. And they're basically weekly sessions to prepare, they're practices you can do, even if you're not going into foundations, but they're really good to preparation for foundations. And people can pre-enroll for foundations. And then I go through the list with Emmanuel, and Emmanuel decides if this is the right time for you to go through this course. So he's our enrollment manager.
I love when he says that the enrollment manager, he's the CEO and,
Yes.
and the enrollment manager. And I think I'd like to hire him too. I like who's doing
It's great.
enrolling. And you have a book too, Transmission, Awakening in a Time of Transition. And we put the link to that as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It tells about my journey and many, many transmissions in there.
And you're doing weekly free broadcasts. I think I'm broadcasting on New Realities, and you're doing on your YouTube channel is what? What's your YouTube channel?
YouTube.com/Asil Toksal.
Asil Toksal.
Yeah. Yes. And so the weekly thing that you're talking about is Fundamentals for Awakening. So you can also see that there. And that's, on our website, on your website, on our YouTube, on your YouTube, it's literally, we're broadcasting this as a free gift and an unconditional offering from the guides to humanity.
Are you doing any live retreats? Because that would be a lot of fun. A weekend retreat.
Yes, there is a live retreat coming up in June, and that will be in Europe. It will be in the Balkans, probably in the countries of Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, probably Bosnia and Croatia. So it will include going to some of the sacred sites there, and it will include, sessions at the sites and also in person. It's kind of a really special experience. So if people join our newsletter, they'll receive the information about it as soon as it comes out.
Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Guys, we put the website and all the information on there. We just appreciate something. I don't even want to let you off the channel.
I want to hug you.
You bring this high energy of grace. I definitely want to be there in that area with you, Occidental over there, but I can feel it. And I'm really excited that your team, that you guys reached out to us to have you on the show and what you're doing around the world. So thank you.
And you have a great team, Crystal, Denise, Sophia, the ones I know, really great, dedicated.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel very, very blessed. And I feel really blessed that there are people like you in this world that are really opening the doorways and opening hearts, opening eyes. And I think humanity is going to need that more than we actually know and understand how much we actually need it.
That's why Joan and I are out of this world.
You are out of this world.
Taking people.
We're taking people out of this world. I want to have a quick comment on that before we have to end. I've been drinking this bottle of water. So it's the Starfire water that I got at the expo. But as I was sitting here, and they were telling me to drink it because they said it was receiving all of the energies from the transmission. And so that, guys, if you listen to his transmissions with your water right there, they were sharing with me that even the water I'm drinking has been upgraded. And so is everyone else out there. Yes. So hopefully all of you can feel an energetic upgrade. And we are just so appreciative, Aseel. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much. I really look forward to it.
Thank you.
And you have him on your channel every week.
I do. And I get a lot of good traffic, a lot of good comments. And, everyone we've been talking to is putting out a higher vibration, Joan. This is what our work supports us. And this is what the conferences will be doing live is also supporting, this kind of evolutionary consciousness. So join us in San Diego, April 21st to 23rd. What's the website for that?
ascensionconference.com. So
Right.
you can go there, and then you can check out the Glastonbury conference, Glastonbury in the UK, guys, in August. But also, we're really excited about the Egyptian retreat. What's the
Yes.
website for the Egyptian one?
EgyptAscensionRetreat.com. EgyptAscensionRetreat.com. There's still space left. It's September 6th to the 16th. And my friends JJ and Desiree Hertog, who've been to Egypt 20 times, they discovered the tomb of Osiris. They're going to be our major guides, and we're
Right.
really
So
going to enjoy it.
we're very blessed to have them, everyone. It's going to be an accelerated program. And I'm going to put a link to the upcoming show that I'm going to be launching on Sundays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. It's called Power On. What is it called? Joan of Angels, Hour of Power. And
Wait.
I think
No, go ahead. No, what were you going to say? Sorry, Joan. What were you going to say? I just want.
that's all I was telling everyone. And I'm going to give you, if I could actually find that link, I would put it up here, but I will put it up there in a couple of minutes.
I just wanted to throw in the fact that at the end of the year, November, we are doing a major crystal skull gathering with probably the best skulls. If you've ever seen a crystal skull, or if you haven't, this is your time, because there's a presence to these skulls. I can't explain it. I don't know how it is, but Joan and I and thousands of the other people have had that experience when you meet these, I would say, beings. Wouldn't you say it's kind of strange, Joan?
No, actually, I would not say it's very
You,
strange. When you connect with a crystal skull and you hear them in your head, it's kind of, in a way, just like Aseel is channeling this
yeah.
information. When you connect with a crystal skull, I'm not saying it's the same thing, Aseel, but I'm saying you can have a direct connection with these higher beings. And apparently, these crystal skulls are like thumb drives. They carry all of the computer, all of the history of the planet. So pretty powerful to get to connect with the crystal skulls. And guys, I'm putting in the chat connection to my upcoming show, the Joan of Angels Hour of Power, on Sunday mornings. I'd love it if you showed up.
Right.
It's gonna be actually on Hulu and on Conscious Awakening Network. But
So
meanwhile,
go to
guys,
portal to ascension.org for all the events we mentioned. I have a show coming up with Deborah Giusti actually in about 20 minutes on the same YouTube channel. So it's
sweet.
always it's nonstop, our work, Joan. It keeps going.
Inner and outer realities, and we are out of this world. So, guys, you've been out of the world with Joan and Alan. Like, subscribe, and share. Check out Aseel's work. We're both really excited. He's in our universe. Check out everything Portal to Ascension, New Realities, and Joan of Angels.
Yes, Oracle of Ancient Wisdom right there. Thank you, Joan. Great to see
All
you.
right. And what I like about Alan is he knows who's the Oracle of Ancient Wisdom. I don't have to tell him over and over and over again. All right. I
Thank you
love
for
you,
being the
Alan.
Oracle. Okay, talk to you soon.
Have a
Thanks.
great day.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Bye,
everyone, for
everyone. We'll see
watching.
you all next time.
Yes,
So
very
it
soon
is.
we'll